Well, every road I see leads away from me. There's not a single one that leads me home. The road keeps saying, friend, come see what's round the bend. So is it any wonder that I roam? All the places I have been keep calling me back again. Down in the pines I hear the cold winds blow. My heart keeps telling me, foot loose and fancy free. And the road goes by and calls me as it goes. Well, maybe somewhere there's a someone waiting with a smile. And maybe there'll be some place I can stop and rest a while. And maybe you weren't meant to be just a rolling stone. And there's a road to travel on that leads you back to home.
All right, there we go.
Cool.
Oop, we got some echo.
Some echo.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I tend to wear those headphones.
Yeah. All righty, everybody. So welcome back to Tales of the Trails. We haven't had Tales of the Trails live for a while. If you're wondering why I'm down here, is I just got tired of my camera being up there, but I don't know if I like it down here. So we're just going to run with it tonight like this. So yeah, Garrett decided he couldn't run a chat tonight because he's got stuff going on that I'm not going to get into. If he shows up tonight and wants to get into it, we'll get into it. But otherwise, we're just going to leave it at that. So I'll just say he's kind of indisposed for a little bit. So tonight it's Ask Duke and Sheldon, and we have our special guest, Sabater 45, Sheldon. And so, yeah, we're going to answer your Old West history questions that you ask. Just to kind of go over the rules, because I've kind of gotten out of the hang of doing this, but especially tonight, there is no politics. Everybody's welcome here. We ain't going to discuss politics. Discussion of politics gets you the boot. So with that, we'll get into it. And I don't expect there to be a whole lot of people show up on this thing because it's on my channel instead of Garrett's, and I haven't done one of these for a while, so it's probably going to be a little slow getting going there. We do have a couple of people in. Vaquero Joel says, greeting from Seward's Folly. Must be getting cold up there this time of the year already. Diane Houston's in. And Florian Bure. Hope I pronounced that right. And Florian, we can't show anything on the live chats. YouTube gets upset about that. So, and besides that, I don't have the 1862 anymore. It has recently went to a new home. Got traded for a original Hope saddle. Well, the tree anyway. Desert Rat 45 says I voted no. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that. JB's in. Evening, gents. 36 degrees. Well, you're warmer than what we are down in Colorado, I can tell you that. Right now, we're looking at 3 days of snow coming up. 8 inches. I don't know how you guys up there are doing in South Dakota, but...
we got rain.
Yeah. Well, we had a little bit of that yesterday. I mean, it spitted, but when I went to bed last night, it said up to 2 inches over 3 days, and now they're saying 8 inches on the high number over 3 days. So we'll see. We need the moisture. We're only 14 years overdue for a blizzard, give or take.
Yeah.
Maybe 15. Yeah, probably closer to 15.
Yeah, last year you had some negative 40-degree days, and those are fun, especially when you live in a place that's meant to be in Louisiana.
Yeah. A little short on insulation.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Used to have to get you enough buffalo robes just to drape over the whole thing.
Nah, you buy moving blankets, they work.
Oh, man. But yeah, it has been a while. I can't remember when I did the last Tales of the Trails. Was you on that one?
Oh no.
Oh.
I have a pretty bad memory, to be honest. I forgot you guys wanted to have this week.
Well, I know Garrett said something about doing one last week, but
No, he wanted to have that Red Dead Redemption one, but I think
well, yeah, we talked about that one too. At least I thought he said something about one this week. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. He'll answer when he comes back on.
he's just a
If
little busy. I think.
Let's see. 3 months ago, it says, was the last Tales of the Trails.
Okay.
It's been a while. And yeah, as you can tell, we didn't have a big topic. We ain't getting going very fast here. Oh,
Everyone's dropping. It says 4.
now we're down to 4. Oh, well. That's all right.
Quitters.
I've noticed too on this thing, it'll bounce back and forth. It's not like on Garrett's where we get 40 all at once. It kind of it'll go back and forth as people come and go.
Yeah.
But and I've also noticed sometimes too, it'll say there's 6, and you go on the YouTube site and look at it, and there's like 15. So I don't think it counts everybody. I think it only counts for people that are logged in or something. I don't know how it works, but Cool Hand says, "Wake me up when the show starts." Yeah, we're a little slow. This was kind of an impromptu because I was ready for a chat, but I wasn't ready for a Tales of the Trails chat.
If you have a question.
Yeah, if you got any history questions. Todd B says, "Howdy, boys. How's it going, Todd?" So I guess the other thing we can talk about is still working on the Tales of the Trails podcast. If you're new here, that's on a different channel. Just type in Tales of the Trails and you'll see an old black and white photo. And that one's on there. The first series is Red Cloud's War that I've been working on all year. I'm just about to finish it up. I'm going to try to do that tomorrow if I don't go duck hunting, which means I didn't go buy my stamps today. I probably won't go duck hunting. But yeah, we're going to try to get that last episode up and then try to figure out where it's going to go from there. I'm thinking Southern Plains, but we'll see. All right, JB has a question. Hey guys, question: what's your favorite 19th century holster design? I'll let you go first, Sheldon.
And kind of like the Slim Jim, just kind of just basic. And it's probably something you see more common for a while there.
Right. My favorite design, let me double check. I might have it here, but I may not be able to show it because it may have something in it.
Well, you just throw it across the room if it has something in it.
Well, I thought it was in this box. It is in this box. It's all the way at the bottom. So my favorite one is this triple loop that I made. And this is off of a, copied off a picture. The only difference is one, the picture had fringe down here on the bottom. And I did not put that in on this one. But I don't know. I just really like this style. Holds the gun well. You do not need the strap or anything to keep it in. The gun's held tight enough by tension that it stays, and it's loose enough that it can be drawn if need be. And then the belt is one that I made to go with it. That's not finished yet. I got to put some dye on it, but that one, and then the closed throat Slim Jims. Yeah, I'm not going to dig one out, but those are kind of the two that I like.
I do like, I guess you say, those early double loop posters, like a Collins.
Oh yeah, the JS Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got one of those too running around here. Thing is like I've made one for my little short 4 3/4 inch single action army, and whenever I make a good one, I wind up selling it and keeping the bad one. So I need to make another good one just for me. But yeah, like Todd B says, that's kind of a softball question, but hey, it's a question that gets us started down the road.
Yeah. Travis.
Speaking on leatherwork, we was just discussing making scabbard for a rifle. I've got one. You want one for a carbine or a rifle?
Rifle.
Oh, I may already have you set. Because I got one. I'm not going to dig it out either, but I made one for my Henry, but I used a pattern that was actually designed for a 76, so it's a little bit big. Gun set's a little sloppy in it.
Yeah, seen. Remember, you even put the 66 in it, and it kind of fell out.
Yeah. And as long as you keep it pointed up, the gun will stay in it.
No, I was just looking at some of those early ones where they have a toe plug, and that was kind of more form fitting.
Yeah, and I can do that. I've got an M1 Grand scabbard that's was given to me by Sam. And man, that thing is heavy. It's like 15-ounce leather. And I got it, and it inspired me to buy an M1 Grand. And then I looked at the price of M1 Grands, and I'm like, it's going to be a long time before I touch that one.
Yeah.
So, but I've got a beautiful scabbard. The only thing is, somebody at some point let their dog crawl on it, and it's got claw marks.
Mm.
Other than that, it's beautiful. The leather's still pristine. I think it's still got all the straps and everything on it. But yeah, it was a scabbard for a tank or a Jeep.
Okay. Probably Jeep.
What's that?
Is it probably a Jeep?
Probably, yeah. A friend of mine used to be one of my supervisors when I worked at Ben's Fort. He has a original Jeep Willys he restored, and when he bought it, I guess came with a M1 Grand scabbard, so he still has that hanging in the Jeep.
That's cool.
Yeah. Let's see here. Travis Lynn asked, how many people traveled unarmed in the 1840s through the 1870s across the plains? You'd be surprised. There are a few accounts of people that are going without weapons, or if they're traveling in a group, not everybody has one. But that's kind of getting later, towards that later 1870s period, into the 1880s. And the early 1840s, I mean, you've got so many people coming through that not all of them are going to be armed, but it's actually, I was a little surprised the number of people that weren't. But most people that came across did have some kind of protection. Because that's one thing you see too. If you ever look at the Covered Wagon Women series, I think every one of those books in that series, one of the diaries in it references somebody dying from a accidental gunshot of some kind. I may not be everyone, but there's quite a few of them that do. One of them that stands out to me was a guy got out of a wagon and knocked a shotgun over, and the shotgun went off and took half of his head with it. And I think that was like in the 1850s. So there weren't many, but there definitely were ones that did. And the Mormons, most of the Mormons coming across probably aren't going to be armed because most of them are being funded by the church to get there. Your opinions?
I never really put much thought into that one. But excuse me. Yeah, I can see it getting less and less by like later, like you said. But at the same time, later and later, you might get more. You get less hostile Indians, but you might get more highwaymen.
Right. There's always going to be some kind of danger from other people.
Yeah, and then I don't know, like I don't know, just you might just have some random farmer or immigrant or something, and they get told you need a gun, and they're like, "Oh, we don't need one." And said, "Oh, people get stubborn."
Right. Yeah, definitely. I'd say the most likely that would be unarmed would be the ones that are heading for Utah, the Mormon groups. Just because, like I said, most of those people are real poor. They're being funded by the church to get there. And that's why the church for a couple of years did the hand carts. It's funny as they're noted for the hand carts, but that was only about a couple of years that they did that. And that was because the church was trying to get them there for cheap because a hand cart compared to a wagon and the oxen to pull it, quite a bit cheaper. And then on top of that is when the church funds you to get over there, then you've got to pay the church back once you get there, in some form or another, after you work your land for so long. Okay, let's see. Carol Joel says, what resources are there for civilian use of Spencer carbines and rifles? When you say resources, I assume you mean books, and I'm not going to grab them because they're holding my camera up right now, but Red Cloud's War, when it describes the hayfield and the wagon box fight, describes civilian uses of them. So that's the first one that I can think of off the top of my head, for sure, that has those sources in it. Trying to think of others. Can't think of them off the top of my head, but Spencer's actually, I was surprised. Spencer carbines in civilian hands was pretty common, especially in that post-war period, 1860s. The Spencers were very popular out west, as were Henrys. Hence why, we talked about in the last one where Frank Garrard paid $80 for a Henry. Now, we don't know if it was a 1860 Henry or an 1866 Winchester. I'm leaning towards the fact that it was probably a 66 Winchester because he paid $80 for it. But out here in the West, they're going to be so popular, even if it was an 1860 Henry, that $80 price is not completely out of the realm of possibility. Just because everybody wants their hands on it out here, so sellers are going to put a premium on them. And Sheldon's probably got some resources for native use. But, yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of any others besides Red Cloud's War. And that's by
Best one for natives, I would say, would be the Museum of the Fur Trades little encyclopedia set, the first volume.
Right.
That mentions the Spencers coming out into native hands. And then if you get the book about the Crow Warrior two leggings, he mentions getting a Spencer off of another crow. But the thing with two leggings is he's really bad at kind of with dates because he went by his way of telling time. Says he got his for I forgot how many buffalo robes, but he said he got it for cheap because the guy who bought it originally got it to shoot once and then couldn't get it working again. So he got that for cheap, and it kind of came up to being the Spencer because he doesn't outright call it a Spencer. He just says it shoots 7 times.
Right.
So unless you got a very short Winchester.
Yeah, and I think it's January Moon by Jerry Green. He's got the list of guns that were collected from the Cheyenne that went to Fort Robinson during the Cheyenne Exodus. And there's quite a few Spencers that are listed on there that they took off of them when they first brought them. And there's several Spencers, they get smuggled in to the barracks there. Basically, they turned in the ones that didn't work.
Yeah.
Because when you see them, as most of them say, non-functional. But yeah, that'll kind of get you a start on there. That's the first ones I can think of. Yeah, I can't think of any more on specifically mentioned Spencers. Let's see here. I got a question here. Florian, Duke, what's the best gun? 62 pocket or 51? I'm going to go with the 51, just because it's got just a little bit more oomph. They're both 36 caliber. They shoot a very similar powder charge, but it's got that longer barrel. It's going to give it just a little bit more accuracy and velocity. I shot both of them. They both very little recoil. The only thing was my 62 is I had to do a little work on the trigger because the trigger was worn off, and it wasn't even a hair trigger. It was you cock it and the hammer falls. So when I squared the trigger back up, of course, that shortened it a little bit, and then it shot higher than a kite because the hammer wasn't coming all the way back. Thankfully, it had a stout enough mainspring that it would detonate the cap. You got a preference there, Sheldon?
I never fired a 62 pocket.
Oh, okay. Well, you had your chance.
I had two chances. Once I was doing payments on one and the pawn shop closed down and I never got my money back.
Jeez.
All right.
Cool Hand says, nice to see a program on YouTube that's not about the election. Yep, we're going to keep it that way. So this is just kind of a break to not have to worry about that. Dan Houston says, do you know much history on Jesse and Frank James? I don't. Other than they robbed a bunch of things and Jesse got killed at the end. And then Frank did a show with Wyatt Earp. That's about the gist of it. All right. Hardy says, any info on how popular the 1876 Winchesters were? Just got a Cimarron 76 and 5095. Nice. Yeah, so from what I understand is they weren't overly popular because they kind of came out a little too late to catch in on the buffalo hunts down in the Texas Panhandle. They came in right at the end of that. I've seen a couple sources of them being used up on the buffalo hunts up in the north. Up in Montana in there. On that last herd that was up in that area. And then the 1886 kind of came in, and once the 86 came in, 76 was like, and I think the big thing on that is the 76 just couldn't quite fit a 45-70, so they, did those oddball calibers. But you do see them pop up in some historic photographs. Stagecoach Mary, her photograph, she's holding a 76, and she's holding one of the muskets because it's got bands on the barrel. I know that the Canadian Mounties liked them. They had some, from what I understand, was the carbines that had the full fore end. Basically like the one you see in Crossfire Trail. But beyond that, I don't know much. I just know that you do see them pop up in some of the old photographs.
I think Teddy Roosevelt has a picture with one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I know he's got the picture with the 95, but now that
when he's a little bit younger and he's all
right. See if I can find that picture right quick. That's the nice thing about smartphones is that I don't have to get on the computer here to try to find it while I'm doing this. Let's see here. Teddy Roosevelt, 1876 rifle. Oh, yeah, he does. Oh, and he's got a fancy sporterized one that's got a short magazine on it.
That's a Hardy's comment.
So it's not real clear, and I don't have the premium, so I don't know how to upload the photos on. Well, I can't upload photos on here to add to the chat, but there's Teddy Roosevelt with a 76. And it's got a pistol grip stock and a short forend, and it's checkered and got some inlays, and it looks like the receiver is engraved. Oh, there's several pictures
for it.
Yeah, he's got several photographs with it there, and it's a full-length barrel too. So that's kind of neat. Surprised nobody's made a copy of that one.
I think they have a hard time selling their Teddy Roosevelt revolver copy. So,
right. Let's see here.
A question for you, Duke.
Yeah, one from Vaquero.
Yeah.
Colonel Carrington, incompetent or victim of circumstance? He was their scapegoat. Because you read in there letters he was sending back to Sherman, is basically he was told when he left Fort Laramie that the natives had signed that 66 peace treaty. And they did. But the tribes that signed it weren't the ones that were living up in that area at the time. So Red Cloud had come down, was brought down in 1866. Now that peace treaty was to basically end the hostilities of the 1865 conflict, which was basically started out as a retaliatory war for Sand Creek. And that's when the Southern Cheyenne went up and, they waged war in Wyoming, northern Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming through most of 1865. Wound up kind of leading into the Powder River expedition when General Connor went up there, and he only successfully attacked a Arapaho village and then was basically ordered to come back because they decided to try to go the peaceful route. The government had decided to go that way. So in 1866, they decided to have a peace commission out at Fort Laramie. Red Cloud came down, and the government decided that they're going to use that opportunity to negotiate the opening of the Bozeman Trail officially. And so it focused less on, bringing about the end of the 1865 conflict and more on, let's open this road. And they met for several days before Carrington shows up. And then when Red Cloud finds out he's been sent to establish forts along the trail, he becomes furious, supposedly says that before the Red Man says yes or no to selling you their lands, you send soldiers to steal it, and now we're going to fight. So that kind of kicks things off. And as Carrington's there at Fort Laramie, like I said, they tell him that, they've signed the treaty. You ain't going to have any problems. Carrington marches out, and he's not very far out from Fort Laramie, and some of his horses get stolen. And so they ride out to recover them, and they find a pony out there that's just laden down with all the presents that were given at that 1866 treaty. Basically the presents that they give them to open negotiations. So that right there is a declaration that says we're going to go to war. And Carrington marches on. He starts having little fights and little skirmishes every step of the way, and he writes back to Sherman multiple times saying that the Indians that I'm encountering are not inclined to be peaceful. He knows what groups he's fighting, from what his scouts tell him. He keeps writing back, says, I need ammunition. I need men. He's promised ammunition when he gets to Fort Laramie. He's promised, I think it was 10,000 rounds. He shows up, there's less than 1,000. So he's trying to build this fort with enough ammunition for each man to fire, I think it said, about 5 shots. And then he'd be completely out. So he keeps writing back, I need ammunition. I need the new breech loading arms and needs men. They finally send him a company of the 2nd Cavalry, Company C. That's right at the end of November, beginning of December. And of all the men that show up with that unit, the musicians are the ones that are armed with Spencers. Everybody else has still got the, sharps or the muzzle loaders. And he keeps writing, I need more arms, I need more ammunition. And they keep saying, oh, well, they're peaceful. And finally, Sherman writes back, I think after the December 6th fight where Fetterman got wiped out the first time around. And Sherman says, well, yeah, I guess they are hostile up there. We'll send you some as soon as we can. And shortly thereafter that, Fetterman and Brown get wiped out. Fetterman, Brown, and Grummond. Brown wasn't even supposed to be there. He snuck out and went up anyway. So after that disaster, Sherman looks bad. The district commander looks bad. Everybody looks bad. And so to not look bad, they say it's Carrington's fault. He spent too much time building walls when he should have been doing this, should have been doing that. And so they basically tarnish Carrington to save their own character. And then after they removed Carrington, because it was in January of 67, that they reassigned Carrington down to Fort Casper. And then from Fort Casper, he's sent into Nebraska, basically with his reputation tarnished. And they send in the new commanders, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, here's these armies ammunition that we was going to send Carrington. We're going to send them to the new commanders now. And then that's when they decided to start taking the war serious. But that was kind of too little too late, because Fetterman had already been wiped out, and that was kind of the biggest thing of that war. And then, of course, you get the wagon box and the hayfield fight, which the soldiers win it. But if they hadn't won it, it still wouldn't have been that big of a battle, because there was only like 20-some people in each location. It would have not been anything like the Fetterman disaster. It would have just been, like another fight that had gone on throughout the summers. But it did show that to Red Cloud and them that, hey, these guys got new weapons. Maybe we need to rethink some tactics here. But yeah, my opinion is that Carrington was not incompetent. He was a very competent man. He lacked battlefield experience, yes. But when you look at his orders and everything he was doing, is that if everybody would have followed orders, Carrington would have looked good coming out. If everybody would have answered Carrington's requests, Carrington would have come out all right. But he was just kind of put in a bad spot, and he made the best of it as he could. What do you think, Sheldon?
I really just agree with you, because you're more well read into it, and from everything I've seen, that's basically what happened.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice thing. Like I said, that Red Cloud's War by McDermott, it's hard to find now because it's out of print and it's really expensive. It was expensive when it was in print. It was like $75 for 2 books, but now they're like $225 for a set. So I'm kind of glad I got my set. But yeah, that really a good idea. Things, sites where all the letters and such are at, where he got that information. Let's see here. Cool Hand says, I knew Sheridan was a yellow belly. I wouldn't say he's completely a yellow belly, but he's one of those that he had the ego. Definitely had the ego. You will find that military history of war and into the ending is that ego is that nail everybody. Fell asleep from face with your eyes closed.
We're losing Duke.
Are we still going?
Still a little staticky.
All right, are we still here?
Eh. No, he's a frozen image. The internet couldn't handle the truth. Yes, David, I would need some coffee. I've had a very long day. Any other questions while we wait for Duke? Yeah, Duke froze. Oh, now he's gone. Uh-oh. I do not know who Randall McKenzie. I'm sorry. I mainly focus on like any native not autobiographies, but like biographies or anything that about some of those old warriors that were willing to let things get written down. That's what I kind of focus on. And, it doesn't matter what tribe they are. If they have something written down, I'm interested in it. So when I was talking about Two Leggings, I read his book a few times. Just because you see those little glimpses that you can use another, say, oh, the other tribes do that too, because I need to read Wooden Legs' book. That's like the one book I keep forgetting to buy. However, from what I understand is, he was truthful. He was really the last generation to live in that prime. Oh, he says the internet died. Wooden Leg was like one of the last warriors to live in the plains Indian era that everyone likes to think about. And he does talk about some of the harsh truths that were around back then that a lot of people try to omit. But he was Cheyenne, so Cheyennes were still a little different from Lakota, even if the Northern Cheyennes were slowly becoming more and more like Lakota according to the Southern Cheyennes. So we can't really say it here. But the big no-no, the big S word, so that apparently that was kind of common amongst the Cheyennes, according to Wooden Leg. But it sounds like he just did his best, as soon as he got put on reservations. Most of everything I got is basically from Wild West Extravaganzas, the little podcast. I keep forgetting to buy the book. Oh, there's Duke. So that apparently that.
All right, my internet went kaput for a minute. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. We're
okay. Good.
Talking about Wooden Leg and my limited knowledge on the guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew something was going up because yours started in a circle, and then mine would go in a circle, and then yours would go in a circle, and mine, and then went poop. Because I was sitting here, and you were sitting like this, and you had your eyes closed. All right. I'll keep on going what you's going on.
Oh, we were just talking about how Wooden Leg, he kind of, what was it going on? What was the last thing I was talking about? I was like, he kind of just did his best after getting put on the reservation.
Right.
Says he was put down in Oklahoma, but he took off. You know how he kind of talks about some of the harsh truths, especially that were amongst the Cheyennes. That people try not to talk about nowadays. But,
Right.
you know, you can't, doll up stuff back then, because back then it was just as bad, or probably even worse. Because one thing when you read about old accounts is when they either talk to men or women, especially the women, they always say, "Oh, we always had to watch out for enemies. Oh, we went if we had to go use, the restroom, we went with a friend because we always were under watch from enemies." That's like one thing they always say.
Right.
Always under watch from enemies, even if an enemy could be miles away. They're just that cautious about it. So.
So did you get into Ronald McKenzie?
I have no idea who that is.
Oh, he's the one that, if I remember right, he was at the Doll Knife fight.
Only thing on Dawn Life I've read is Billy Garnett's little snippet.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah, and I need to read up more on him. But I know he was part of Crook's command during most of the 76 campaign.
Hold on. Let me think. Was he in charge of the scouts?
I don't remember.
If I remember right, and this is me recalling because it's been a bit since I read it, but he is the one that basically was him, Billy Garnett, and Big Bat. They had all the Lakota scouts line up, but then they had that one. He was a how do you say that band again? Wajaja or something like that. He took off on his own. Like all the scouts were lined up on the hill, but that man took off, and I think it was Mackenzie who asked Big Bat who that is.
Right.
And then I always thought it was funny. This is just me. Or during that Dawn Life fight, basically, Big Bat, I think it was Fast Bull and Billy Garnett. They all go down and try to stop that lone guy, the lone scout who took off. But because of tribal politics, he says, "I'm the only one of my band here, so I don't have to listen to any of you. I'm gonna be the first one down to get horses or whatever heck he was trying to get honors." And
Right.
they were hiding in a thicket, and they see and I think it was Mackenzie who gave them the order of, "Go ahead, go do what you're doing, but you do not fire unless you're fired upon first." I think that was Mackenzie.
Right.
And it was just like they said that Scout put on the war bonnet. I think him and that Fast Bull or Thunder Bull, I forgot which one it was, but they both had their war bonnets on. But they were sitting there in the thicket watching the Cheyenne camp because the Cheyenne camp was howling, partying, or hooping. So they see one lone man come out and check on his horses, and he says, "This is Billy Garnett saying all this." That
Right.
was like him, Big Bat, and those two scouts, Indian scouts. They're like eyeing that man, and all of a sudden that man probably gets the feeling that someone's watching. So he just slowly turns his head and looks, and he just sees those four staring at him from the trees. And he slowly raises his gun and he fires.
Right.
Hey, what do you think went through that man's like mind at that moment? Because he looks into the trees, he just sees two war bonds and probably two white guys.
Probably was thinking, "Oh shit."
So I guess I think that was Mackenzie who put that in, who was in charge of the scouts. It takes a bit to get everything with phone. I don't talk about this a lot.
Right. Yeah, it said he was a brigadier general during the Civil War, and then during the Indian Wars he reverted back to a captain, and then eventually got promoted to a general again. But yeah, he was in the Red River War, and then when 1876 blew up, it was kind of the same thing with Crook. You know, Crook got transferred to the Department of the Platte and sent north in there, and then Mackenzie was with him under his command. But yeah, I need to read up a little bit more on him. I got a book on him here somewhere.
I have a book. I forgot who it's about. It just says, I guess he had an Indian name and a white hat. But...
Yeah, the other name he had was Bad Hand.
Okay.
Which a lot of guys had that nickname. Thomas Fitzpatrick had that nickname.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, there were a couple warriors that had that name too.
It's kind of like when you look at old census records and you find about 20 different kills in water or kill streaks.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's just like we've talked about Sitting Bull. You know, you got to specify which one you're talking about because there's two of them that are known, that are written about. Yeah. Cool Hand says, like that name, Bad Hand. Yeah, and we know a guy too by that name. Does some reenacting stuff, or used to anyway.
Guess he said the thing he's planning for next September might be his last big hurrah. We'll see how that's going. That's still about roughly a year away.
Right. Wonder where that's going to be at.
The location they gave is the best location that they found is up in Blackfeet Res.
Oh, way up there. Okay. Yeah, they did one quite a few years ago now. I was going to try to go to it. I couldn't make it swing. But it was up at Union Pass and in Wyoming. And Bad Hand was supposed to show up with a bunch of guys, and then when they got there, they had 3 natives, one guy and his wife and kid. And the buffalo hunter camp didn't have as many buffalo hunters as they thought they was going to have. And then the 11th Ohio were up there, and I guess they ran around and nobody really seen them. But, yeah, the 3 natives managed to wipe out 10 buffalo hunters at the last night.
Yeah, that's what he's planning, but he wants 30 to 50 or 40 to 50 people on each team. I'm like,
it's going to be quite a few.
Well, I'll say, that was a bargaining chip just to be a native at Fort Larned.
Yeah.
I seen the rendezvous down at Fort Bridger. Great setup, but one guy, maybe he's native. I can't tell.
Right.
The other guy, he obviously knows more stuff than I do, so I gotta give him kudos. But he was white.
Right.
He was more brave. He was just running around in the breechcloth and a t-shirt. You know me, I had to wear leggings.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Todd. Believe he had syphilis, which was a common one back then. And because there was Sergeant Gleason of the 2nd Cavalry, 1st Sergeant Gleason of the Company K, 2nd U.S. Cav. It was at Fort Laramie. He wound up succumbing to it. And there's a good possibility that Custer may have had that too. But that's one of those things that we'll never know. Oh, man.
Yeah, there's a family here. They can trace themselves back to that Yellowbird kid who's supposedly either Custer or his brother's son.
Right.
And holy crap, they get a bunch of shit for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be kind of hard, living on the res, knowing that you're descendant of the Custer clan.
right?
Uh,
Any other questions? Yeah, that Mackenzie I need to read more about.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those that I was going to get into that, but then I got into doing the podcast, so kind of working my way up to 76. But if I go to the Southern Plains here, um, we'll probably get into him in Texas.
But yeah, I like yeah. But when your internet decided to die, um, I was telling the people who are here, I mainly just try to read on more on native accounts and
Right.
stuff like that. So that's where I kind of float. But it's good to read the other accounts too because you get to see sometimes you get to see good conflicting accounts and
Right.
sometimes both sides of the story. So or
Right.
as best both sides of the story that you can get.
Yeah, that's one nice thing about having you on with these chats is that you can get into the part of it that I ain't as strong in.
I don't know. Like for me, the thing is, like again with two leggings is he'll talk him and then a couple other different books like the McCulloughs. They'll talk about how they made their arrowheads and stuff for
Right. Yeah.
uh, two leggings. First knife was a barrel band that his brother straightened out and sharpened. So
I get the job done.
what native accounts best to read again? Two leggings don't two leggings wooden leg because he's like the best Cheyenne one. If you can find it, it's Teton World Music and Culture. That's by Frances Densmore. She went to Standing Rock and I think Cheyenne River reservations in 1913, and she interviewed a bunch of warriors back then. She even recorded some of their songs on some like those wax cylinder discs. And nowadays, the Standing Rock, Standing Rock College up in or the Sitting Bull College in Standing Rock, they're re-recording some of those old songs. So so they re-recorded some of those old songs that used to be sung back then. White Bull by Stanley Vestal. Sitting Bull by Stanley Vestal. The Sitting Bull one is a biography that was kind of cobbled together by people who knew him. And if you want to get a little bit Sitting Bull experiences, you can read that book. And then those old warriors I was talking about before that interviewed with Densmore, they remember the song that Sitting Bull was singing in his last teepee camp after 20 something years. So they re-recorded Sitting Bull's song. You can look him up on YouTube or find. I think it's called the Densmore Recreation Project. I think that's the name. Those ones I can think of. If you want to read more about intertribal warfare, Red was the blood of our forefathers. I think that's the title. I keep getting it mixed up, but that's a Crow and Cheyenne, like tribal warfare kind of book. It starts all the way from like 1919 or 1918 or 1819, 1819, and it basically goes all the way up until about maybe the 1860s, 70s. Those ones I can. Those ones are ones I recommend. Those ones I poured more into. You can get the Voices of the American West, the Judge Rickard books.
Right.
Billy Garnett, he's really good. It mainly deals with Wounded Knee, but like Billy Garnett, he'll talk about the Dull Knife fight, which he was in. He'll talk about like just little scenes. And it's good to get like the mixed bloods views on everything too, because they were kind of like in between the two worlds.
Right.
Because they were seen as a separate entity back then. they weren't seen as tribal members. That's why when Red Cloud finally got the modern Pine Reservation, no, he had to include the mixed bloods because they were considered something different. That even has I think his name is I forgot his first name, but he's a Shangru, and he talks about what he's seen during the Cheyenne outbreak, and how that basically had him stop scouting. That has a good little snippets. Frank Guard, he's not native, supposedly.
Right.
Little mystery guy there, but he's pretty good with some stuff. Um, stay away from Joseph Marshall's Crazy Horse book unless you want to read historic fiction. Nothing wrong with historic fiction, but it is a historic fiction. Um, uh, there's another book. Can't remember it now. But yeah, if you want to read the Francis Densmore book, there's like it's I mainly stick around the that's her name Wahini. She if you type that in exactly how you can pronounce it, she was a Mandan woman that basically lived that last like way of life for the Mandans. Because they get put on reservations in 1870 and basically stay there to the point where her son becomes like a Catholic or Episcopal priest. But she's a real good knowledge, good bird woman. I think that's how I say it. But she even has a gardening book. So if you want to get into some Mandan gardening, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, she basically talks about like the Mandan way of life from like the woman's perspective. I really need to get into the Dakotas, but one of these years.
Right.
Think White Antelope. There's that. I think there's that one about him. He's a rapper. I never got to that one. I mainly ended up focusing on my own tribe for a while there, so
Right.
that's where I kind of flow around. Like the nice thing about the Densmore book is it will tell you the small little snippets. Like like there's a chapter called the Buffalo Hunt, and it will tell you. And basically, the one of those warriors will kind of step by step explain how he used to butcher buffalo back in the day. How to skin them, because there's a way you're supposed to skin a buffalo to get like basically two ways, like a split hide, and then you're supposed to skin another way to get like a trapezoid shape for a teepee.
Right.
Because the way, like if you skin like how you skin deer nowadays, you don't do that with those hides. You kind of lose area space. So the Densmore book, I would really recommend that. White Bull by Stanley Vestal and the Sitting Bull one. Two Leggings. I think Foos Crow has a book. I didn't get to that one. No, not Foos Crow. I forgot his name though. Foos Crow's good if you want to read 20th century native thought politics. Black Elk Speaks. That's a good one.
Yeah, I've got that one.
My Indian Boyhood by Luther Standing Bear. And the nice thing about Luther is he lived in a tribal life as a kid, but he does go to Carlisle and gets educated that way, and he talks so he can basically talk for himself because he has the education and he can speak English, so he can basically he writes his own book. I think that Oyesa Charles, I forgot his actual last name. I forgot his last name. I think he has a book. I think that Luther Steinberg also has another book on my Indian life or something like that. It kind of goes overview. Those would be the best ones, I would say. especially like I keep going back to that Densmore book, but that was like the first one I really read and got really into. Uh, like you have songs for just like dreams and obligation. This if you want to get into like a non-account book, the Sioux, it's back there in the bookshelf. It's just called the Sioux, and you might say it has some sort of like what's that art style called? I used to be really good at my art styles. Almost like not Picasso style art book cover, but that one's pretty good. That one actually kind of cuts like it'll tell you kind of like almost a day to day tribal thing. There's some funny stories in there, especially when they get to the hail cuts. Yeah. The Sioux would be a good one if you just want to read that one. I have a book on Northern Chime, but I don't know where that one went. One of these days I'll organize my stuff. What book did you grab, Duke?
I grabbed a handful of them. I was actually looking for one because I thought I had. I was just looking because I thought I had the Two Leggings book, but the thing of it is I've got a bookshelf I've got a table between me and my bookshelf, and I can't see the bottom shelf. So
yeah, I don't know. I focus, like I said, mainly on my tribe and the surrounding ones. I don't really get into the Kiowas or Comanches or I like basically East Coast, West Coast tribes. I kind of neglect them.
right. Yeah, if you get into all tribal history, I mean, there's a bigger section than just what we kind of focus on in the out here in this area. Oh, grab so many books they're falling off the table. Have you read this one yet?
No, I didn't even heard of that one.
I found it. It's a University of Oklahoma press, so usually and for anybody that's getting into history, the one of the best things to start looking at is who the publisher was. Yeah, and University of Oklahoma press is usually pretty good stuff. I was just trying to see here on this one and what it kind of covered. Oh, it kind of starts with the Sand Creek and goes through the Kansas expeditions. The stuff that went on in Kansas, but yeah, I definitely need to add to my collection of native books. All right. I'm going to do Hardy's question here. Do you know how much ammo people carried with them in the field? Sounds like most people only had a spare box in their coat, if any. I've never really come across an account that says exactly how many rounds of ammo a person carried. But like, grab a couple of reproduction examples here. So one thing you got to remember is if you're just traveling on a horse with saddlebags, a box of bullets takes up quite a bit of space. So this is for Henry. This is 50 cartridges, and this is made to the original dimensions of the box. So it will not fit 45 Colts. So you got two of these in a saddlebag. That's going to take up quite a bit of space. And then for the Henry boxes, they're 25 rounds per box. And, they take up over half of what the Henry box is. So, and you're only going to be able, if you carry two, you got 50 rounds there. And so, yeah, that and cartridge belts are starting to kind of come in there in the early 1870s. So whatever you can fit in a cartridge belt. And then for spare box ammo in your saddlebag or in a coat pocket, just not going to have a lot of room for that extra stuff. And then, yeah, for like the military load, if I remember right, it was 100 rounds of rifle and 36 rounds of pistol. And I'm trying to remember that off the top of my head. I do have an Army. It's in the ordinance. I'm trying to think. I think that's for 70 in the 70s. But yeah, it'd be pretty sure it's 36 and for the pistol and 100 for the rifle / carbine. But yeah, I've never really seen an account that says how many a civilian carried. All right. Doug Duke said, what is that book? This is one that I found on Amazon, and I've seen it before. It's Plains Indian Raiders. I think I seen it down at Fort Larned is where I found it, and that's when I took a picture of it and found it on Amazon. So this says the final phases of warfare from the Arkansas to the Red River. So this is kind of the 1864 through the 1874 era. Focuses more kind of like Hancock's War and such, because it's got a chapter dedicated to Hancock's War, and it's got a lot of great pictures in it. There's a picture of that one guy that's mutilated out on the plains. I'm not going to show that one, but that's a kind of a popular one that you'll find in some. Let's see. Yeah, Sergeant Frederick Williams. He was killed and not treated so nice afterwards. Yeah, it's got. I should go through the pictures on this. Man, it's got some really good pictures. Oh yeah, there's Kiowa Dutch. But yeah, it's a pretty good book. So it's 400 and some odd pages, but it about a little over half of it is just the historic photographs. Each photograph gets its own page and then another page to describe it. So pretty good resource. Trying to see if it's got any others here. Yeah, I'm going to have to go because I bought this book and then I set it down on the table and I never went through it. I'm going to have to go through it.
Happens.
Man, that's got some good stuff in it. Some of these pictures I've seen before. Oh, thought he was holding a Winchester. I was going to show it. He wasn't. He's holding a stick. Not that the pictures show up good through the camera anyway. But yeah, this is looks like it's going to be a good one. I think I did thumb through it because I got it just before we went to Fort Larned because I was trying to do research on that thing. And then the time that I was there weren't that many people. So I wound up leaving early to come home. And then I found out later that there was a lot of people. All right.
I mean, I brought up some books I could show off real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
This one's a dry read. To me, chapter 3 is the best because it's more of a biography. But because I think the woman who wrote this book has a PhD, and it's a very dry read. and she was a Marine. I think she was a Marine somewhere in her life. It was very dry, sterile read. But George Sword's Warrior Narratives, it reads really like a college essay.
Right.
I went through some of it, but not all of it. And she got, and this George Sword did write it himself. Like she found, I think the University of Colorado has his original manuscripts, but he learned how to write from Jesuits. So
Right.
basically, she read and translated into English. So it's his own words. But he was at the Fetterman fight. He participated, but it was like afterwards. He, in his words, and I might be, kind of jumbling them. He says, "I learned everything that an Indian can do from any Indian craft. I knew how to do, but I don't know how to do any of these white man things. So that's why I started helping the white man." They said they must be rich because they have extra food and clothes and everything they're giving us. So like after basically Red Cloud's where that's when he started helping them more.
Gotcha.
And then again, Fetterman, this is a good one. White Bull's accounts in here. It has questions if Red Cloud was there. Was Crazy Horse actually one, mooning the soldiers? Because in that book, this book, it mentions a few times that some of those guys were like, we didn't see him,
right,
at all. So, this is the one I mentioned earlier, the Sioux by was that Royal Hasrick?
Okay.
Basically, if you want to learn just anything basic from back then, like here's some illustrations of how they did their little war hitch for horses,
right,
to dog travois and whatnot. Some good stories in here. I remember hearing one story, and I didn't know it came from his book until way later. About Heyoka and his sister, and screwing up some very, very valuable jewelry. Yeah, red was the blood of our forefathers. It's if I remember, it goes from 1819 to basically the 1870s. By Brian Keefe. That's a good one because they talk about a Cheyenne with a chainmail shirt and how that chainmail shirt got lent out because it was supposedly powerful medicine, and the guy he lent it to got killed. Anytime they say powerful medicine, it's kind of like they're jinxing themselves.
Right.
I would find a better copy, but this is Two Leggings book. I got the Scholar Select, and the photos in it are not the best. They're kind of bad. But yeah, he talks about like trading buffalo furs for cartridges or making stuff, and hold on. What chapter was it? 13. You jumped ahead. One of these days, because these books are mine, I should start highlighting inside of them, but I really can't do that. It got drilled into me when I was in school, so I don't do it.
Right.
But yeah, he talks about paying like bunch of buffalo rolls for a little amount of cartridges. Um, yeah, I had notes written down, but I lost those notes. This one's good. This is more again, this more culture-esque.
Right.
And yes, it came from a school, but the school was throwing the books out, so I rescued them. It does, you know, like if you want, it does have some ledger winner counts in the back. Funny thing is it does not mention the winner count does not mention the 68 treaty, but you get some ledger art.
Right.
Here's the Densmore book I was fawning over earlier, as you can see.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. But it's a good book. I recommend it. And because it has pictures of like some of the stuff they carried back then, like the Warriors. Back, you can see how kind of what's the word? Kind of harsh parenting was back in the day.
Right.
One good snippet in there. There's White Bulls book. I don't have Sitting Bulls. I should buy one these days. But that's a good one. What you will see, and you can look it up online if you type in White Bull or White Cow Bull on Google, you'll find an interview from the 1930s, and that was an Ogallala with roughly the same name.
Right.
Pete Blochaska, which translates to White Cow Bull. These guys' stories get mixed up. If you ever find Wendell Grandgard's documenting weapons at Little Bighorn, he mixes the two stories together.
Right.
And then if you see anything about that White Bull, people are starting to call him Cheyenne because he said he was in the Cheyenne camp. But that's because he spoke Cheyenne as well as Lakota, so that's why he was with them.
Right.
This is a good one. Pretty Shield. She was a Crow medicine woman. She tells her husband's side of Little Bighorn. I think her husband was Runs Against, I think. And yeah, again, it's another book I rescued from getting tossed out. So
right.
And then last one's Ricker. I don't have as much notes on here, but I particularly like it for the Billy Garnett or William Garnett stories.
Right.
Especially the his little fiasco that with the Richards family and his in-laws. So, these are the ones I have. I would recommend them, especially that Densmore book, obviously.
Right.
With the Densmore book, you can, like I said, find songs. Like there's a song in there. It's called "The Hills I Trod Upon." Supposedly, that was a very popular war song that was being sung in the 1860s and 70s. And apparently, there's two versions, but only one got recorded, and they were basically the same. Just like I think, like a verse got changed instead of lakes. I think they say rivers, but yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that Densmore book's good. But like I said, I kind of focused mainly on my tribe, but ones like this are good because Lakotas do get sprinkled in there. And you can just see how the tribal warfare was. So,
right.
I'm gonna let Duke talk. I'm gonna look in this Two Leggings book real quick. I'm gonna try to find where he talks about how much buffalo ropes he traded and stuff.
All right, let's see here. Doug Duke says, I thought it was 18 for the pistol. That sound 36 is the 1874 or 72. 72 or 74 ordnance book when they upgraded the saddlebags. And it says, because it says what's to be carried in each bag. So, one bag is to carry the knife, fork, and spoon, 100 rounds carbine, 36 rounds pistol, meat can, sidelines, picket pin, lariat, watering bridle. And that's in the left saddlebag. And the right saddlebag is a change of underwear, 2 horseshoes, 32 nails, nose bag, curry comb and brush, canteen filled, tin cup, and then the carbine in the boot. So that was to equal out to 20 pounds on each side of the horse. But that is in the, I believe it's a 74 ordinance because they've got the 74 saddlebags. That's where I was able to get my measurements for the 1874 saddlebags that I haven't finished making yet. I need to finish them here one of these days. So yeah, and I know like during the Civil War it was 18 rounds plus whatever's loading the pistol because that's what fit in one of those pistol boxes. But when I got into the cartridge area, I don't know when they changed that because they had those like during 76 they had the pistol loop pendant. I can't remember what that was called. I'm having a brain fart here. But it tied onto the belt, and I don't remember how many rounds of ammo it carried. And then I know that cap box. What's that?
McKeever?
No, that was a McKeever. The cartridge loop that was for Garrison use. I want to say it was a Christian because it kind of came around about the same time as the Fairweather Christian belt, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. And then I know like in the old cap pouches, they'd put ammo in there, but that could only hold about 10 rounds. And that's from me taking one of the cap pouches I have and modifying it for the 1870s. And all I could squeeze in there on 45 Colt was 10 rounds. But yeah, 76 or 74 ordinance definitely says 36 rounds pistol. Let's see.
I found the page I was looking for.
Go for
it. He says he bought a new gun that worked with the lever. He says it shot 8 times in a row, and he traded a buffalo rope for 20 shells, and he made a little buckskin bag for it. All he says he traded very little for the rifle.
Right.
But he said he also traded, when he went to go visit a trader, he traded a buffalo rope for a cartridge belt. And it said a dispenser, he just says the guns, and he's talking about most likely the dispenser, cost 50 buffalo robes to get back then. And then it stopped people from, getting them. So, and then that's really all it says. The other thing, he talks about using the gun a few times, like against wars with like the pagans and stuff. But
right,
I like the one story where he says he had the old muzzle loader and he shot a buffalo bull, wounded it, and because it started charging him, he got in so much of a panic he cocked the hammer and pulled the trigger on the muzzle loader again, and then obviously didn't do crap. He's been chased down by a bull. He ain't gonna think logically for a second.
Right. So yeah, 8 rounds. That'd pretty much have to be a Spencer. 1 in the pipe and 7 in the tube.
And just to answer, I'm gonna just chime in with Doug Dukes and Hardy's account, but in the volume 2, I took pictures of them. I can't buy them at the moment, but I'm gonna buy them soon. Museum of the Fur Trades volume 2, like Museum of the Fur Trades, Indian Trade Encyclopedia set volume 2 talks about gun accessories and stuff, and
right.
The traders in like Montana and even like out like in Wyoming stuff, they were particularly Montana, they were like requesting reloadable 50-70 shells for the crows because the crows really took to the 50-70. So they were getting like reloading shells, primers, powder, and bullet molds. So uh, they managed to reload their 50-70s. I think Fort Laramie, Fort Robinson, most likely didn't, or any other traders in the area. So
Right.
I mean, I've read, what's his name's Colonel Dodge's account about Indians reloading rimfires, but he never says what tribe. And he worked up and down the plains, so. But and they had reloading tools,
Right.
So, but
Yeah, because
sounds like,
Winchester was selling Winchesters with that all-in-one tool.
mhm.
There, I don't know when they started selling those, but I know they had them for. I've seen an original one. Wished I could have afforded it, but
Right.
because it had bullet mold and everything in it.
I think there's a guy online. You see him pop up on the occasion when you look into Winchester, but Brian Austin.
Okay.
He has a Google website. It's like 44 Winchester or something. He has a little timeline on the Winchester reloading tools from the earliest ones to like the pliers, the last like pliers looking ones.
Right.
And then also, Sharps and Remington had theirs also.
Right.
Yeah. No, Doug Dukes. It's a encyclopedia says like 100, and I think that second volume's like $120.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to their website, you'll find it's like a 6-volume encyclopedia, so you can buy them individually. First one deals with guns, second one deals with accoutrements and whatever. And then it kind of goes down the line like fabrics, textiles, food, art supplies, stuff like that. And I think the lead, hate to say it, but the biggest seller obviously is the firearms book, and that was like the most expensive.
Right.
I keep wanting to buy them. I'll buy them eventually. But yeah, it's just a thick little encyclopedia set. I know I took pictures of the reloading one. There it is.
Should message Garrett if he's gonna make it.
Yeah, it says okay, so it's to the Blackfeet, but a trader reported sales of 15,000 reloadable 50 Army cartridges and 4,000 Winchester cartridges to the Blackfeet.
That's a few.
Yeah, just a little bit. But that didn't really last long because by 73, they were cracking down on cartridge firearms on natives.
Right.
Oh, here's one. In 73, a Crow trader, C.W. Hoffman, asked for approval to the BIA for 11,000 reloading needle cartridges, 3,000 Spencer, 2,000 Winchester, and 1,000 Smith & Wesson reloading cartridges, Colt cartridges, and goes on to lead powder. But like I said, by 73, they were kind of cracking down on
Right.
getting cartridge firearms to natives because that might go bad for them. But yeah, I mean it's a good thing. It's a good book. I really want to buy them. I just kind of space out when I get the money.
Yeah, I've been known to do that a time or two too.
So like the Tribesmen Reloaded, wasn't too, they're, like any other people. You had ones who had a knack for it, the ones who didn't have a knack for it.
Right.
So
yeah, it's funny on the Reloading. It's like there's 2 Hollywood scenes of Reloading, like in the late 1800s, that I know of in movies. The best one is Valdez is Coming, because he sits on there and he loads his bullets for his sharps up on the hill, and he's got all the tools. The worst one I've seen is Butcher's Crossing, where he takes that hammer and ting 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 seats that bullet in there, and it's like, yeah, you just mashed that bullet and probably messed up the dimensions. And what's funny is if you look close enough, I was watching it again the other night, you look close enough and you can tell he was waylaying that around, because that nose is wider than what it should be.
I don't think Doug Dukes. He just says this one, but I can't see what he's.
I'll be right back. Give me just a quick second.
Alrighty. Well, I'm not Duke Todd, but I do have a 68 trapdoor in 50-70. I got 2 rounds I can shoot. I don't want to shoot them because that's all I got. I got some vintage ones. Got some that are about the same vintage as the rifle, so that's nice. I have to pull all these books back. Oh well.
Had to go relieve the water I'd been drinking. All right.
I have a feeling that Garrett is pooped.
Yeah, he said he was going to a little party after he got home from his incident, and he said it didn't sound like he was going to be back.
Yeah. That was a 68 trapdoor I got off of Garrett, right?
Or something like that.
Yeah, something around there. If you want to see the condition of the rifle, Garrett has a video of it on his channel. I think it's like a 11-minute video.
I think you got that Bannerman cut down.
Yeah, that's the one I got.
Yeah. And I shot it. In fact, I think that's the video that you're referring to is the one I'm out there in Kansas with Garrett.
Probably.
I know I shot it. We shot 2 different ones, and you're surprised that shorter barrel, you feel just a little more thump.
Yeah, I can imagine so. Like I said, I only have the 2 cartridges first. I really don't want to shoot it. I want to shoot it. I don't want to.
Right. Well, Garrett only gave you 2?
He said he was going to give me 4. There's the other 2 wander somewhere.
Yeah, he offered me that at one point in time for something. I don't remember what it was. And sitting there, I was like, I should. And then I got thinking, it's like, as much of a pain as it was for him to find 50-70, what he had to pay for it is like, I'm not going to mess around with that much.
Well, it's kind of a nice conversation starter.
Yeah,
I remember back about 2018, 2019, I wasn't making much money. I was getting like $400 every 2 weeks.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, right. I didn't have to pay much in bills at the time. I really was like that close on buying Cimarron McNelly Sharps in 50-70. Because we were able to find brass back in 2019.
That'd be the only 50-70 I go for now is Sharps.
Yeah.
McNelly carbine.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, never pulled the trigger, so now it's gonna be SOL probably for the next 5 years
yeah, or more.
or more. I should have went to school to become a machinist or engineer.
Yeah, no kidding. They make you do a lot of math when you go to engineering school.
Yeah, math ain't my strong suit.
It only took me 4 times to get through calculus.
I've never done calculus. I was in very basic math and I barely passed that. So then again, I just have a hard time focusing with it.
Oh, let's see. Garrett's texting me.
Ow.
Oh, geez. Election crap.
Yeah, that's what my phone's looking like too.
Yeah. But
I know how to become very well paid with a good instant money, like lump sum of money. I would just have to become a tribal police officer.
yeah, there you
And,
go.
I grew up in a household of that. I'm good. Because what was it? My reservation working 2 years here, it equals 5 to 7 years experience somewhere else. So we're being Chicago. God, this place is shit. This shithole. But my shithole, I love it.
At least you can say that. I made a mistake and said that one time in the wrong company.
Well, I live here. I get to hear some of the bad stories. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, I remember when I was in college. We was sitting there and with some friends, and they brought up, we should go down to Pine Ridge. And there was a native guy there that I was friends with. He didn't say much, but when he heard that, he's like, "Don't go. Just don't go." And that was all he would say. He wouldn't explain. He just says, "Do not go."
Mm-hmm.
And so we didn't.
Smart move.
But
like if you came to visit my place or my cousin's place, that'll probably be like the only places I would say go.
right.
I mean, you can go Wounded Knee during the day. You're scared enough. You can chase away the extortionists.
Right.
Yeah. Other than that, I wouldn't hang out in a lot of places, especially the housings.
Yep. Well, and somebody that we both know that worked up there, not too far from that, was telling me some of the stories of when he had to go over there to do some stuff, and they was having dinner one night and basically got told that, hey, it's getting dark, you need to leave. It's like, you do not want to be here after dark.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like the town of Pine Ridge, it is something else at night.
I've never been there, and the only reason I go is I'd come up to see you maybe, but I'm not going to stick around in the area very long.
The sad thing is that they're trying to take down the old tribal building, but you can understand that, limited space.
Right.
But the old tribal building is like where some like Red Cloud's last, his kind of last, what would you say, political things happen there. And then there's a white church from like if you came up from Nebraska, you
Right.
pass the white church, and that's where they were. That's the original church from 1890. That's where they're taking as Wounded Knee survivors.
Oh, wow.
So there's some good history there, but
right.
People, oh my God. They call me Deshi just for a reason. Oh man, I'm gonna stop them. I'm gonna get someone in trouble.
Yeah. That was funny. That was my friend. I don't even remember his name now. But he had to take a geology class with me, and we went out and was out doing a field trip for that class for the lab section. And the professor held up this rock and he says, "What kind of rock do you think this is?" And he was asking the class. And be warned, we're breaking the no F-bomb filter here. He pops off and he just says in this very flat tone, no expression on his face, and he says, "It's an Indian sex stone." And the professor looks at him. He says, "What?" He says, "Just another fucking rock." I was like, "Oh my God." And the whole class wanted to laugh. I know the professor wanted to laugh. He just, whenever he would tell a joke, he'd never laugh, never smile. Never seen him laugh hardly at all unless he'd had a few drinks. He just sit there with this flat face and nobody knew how to react to
it. Todd, it's like when you get there, the cemetery's on the hill, but there's like a little parking spot on the bottom of it. Basically, that whole little, I don't know, what would you, can't really say a valley, but a little flat.
Yeah.
Like the main battlefield, like almost the entirety of it is just private property now. There's people living there. I think we were like almost where the like it's just basically just majority just houses now. A church built a big, not like it has a big little operation going on a good chunk of it.
Right.
That's the one thing about reservations. We still have that law where if a church wants to open up a church, or if someone wants to open up a church on the reservation, they're allowed to. They basically get free land. So if any guys want free land, open up a church on the reservation. There you go.
Open up the Church of Duke.
Yeah, there you go. Just be mindful if you visit in the summertime, you're going to get bothered by people trying to sell beadwork and stuff.
Right.
They get territorial if they see another native, though. But when you pull in, there's like a big sign that tells you what's going on. Like a few miles to the south on Highway 18, there's a sign. You could still kind of, that sign where it says Bigfoot surrendered, it used to be more north, but they moved it for some reason.
Right.
But yeah, the Wounded Knee battlefield is still battlefield massacre site. It's still there. It's just heavily, owned.
Right.
So that's why, like, when people ask it, does Wounded Knee have anything like Sand Creek? I'm like, no, it's going to be really, really difficult to do anything like that.
Yeah, that's one of them that I haven't read up much on. We talked a little bit about it when I was up there at Fort Laramie because we have a artillery piece that's not the one, but it's very similar to one of the ones that was there, the Hotchkiss mountain gun. Because that was really the first time that it was used in a offensive purpose.
Yeah.
And they described that it was how effective it was because 12-pound mountain howitzers weren't overly effective. They had some effect, but that Mountain Hotchkiss had such a precise timing on it. It's one of the reasons why so many were killed so fast is because they were firing with that cannon. And the fact that it could be fired quite a bit more rapidly than 12-pound mountain howitzer, because pretty much just open the breech, run a patch through it, shove the shell in, fire. It's almost like firing modern artillery. They could crank the guns out. And what I remember reading on there, one of the things I did read was that the commander, when he seen, he was basically firing on women and children and how effective those rounds were, that's when he called the ceasefire before he was given the order to do so. And then I remember reading something about the Gatling gun, but there's been some couple things where I seen where they talked about having one of the Gatling Hotchkiss guns, which is basically that same round that light mountain gun fires, but it's got 3 or 4 barrels on it. And so you boom, boom, boom. So you imagine that artillery going out there
Yeah.
more rapid rate. But I haven't found anything that just where it says that particular type was there, because that was big and heavy hard to move.
Yeah. I honestly don't read much about it. I don't know. Maybe it's. I grew up with people talking about it a lot.
Right.
And doesn't register. Like I got books on it. Then they were all silent. It's over there. All guns are silenced or something like that. Again, that Voices American West that has a lot of personal accounts from people who were there. We're talking about it way later.
Right.
But yeah, there were in this like civilians that got caught in the crossfire that got killed. You had a lot of the warriors taking off to that stronghold out into the Badlands. Frank Goard, he mentions having to go out there. I don't know. He makes it sound like it was a one-man show on that one. But I don't know. You had the what was it called? Drexel Mission fight. I think that's where the Red Cloud School is now.
Okay.
But where that Looking Horse, he was a Carlisle graduate. He killed a lieutenant there with a newly purchased Winchester.
Right.
But in Looking Horse's eyes, and the Indians didn't look, his own people didn't look at him as a Lakota because he was educated as a white man, and to the white people, he was just another Indian. So to gain, in his words, to gain honor amongst people, he shot the lieutenant, and the lieutenant was trying to talk peace. I think the lieutenant and 2 Buffalo soldiers got killed there. But then that Looking Horse was about to be where they took him up to Fort Meade and they're going to hang him. But because I think it was Congress or something said, oh, because it was a state of warfare, he's innocent because it was a state of warfare. But Looking Horse was popular for a while, but he kind of just faded into obscurity again. I know nowadays they keep trying to have some sort of national park thing there, but there's a lot of people who are resistant to it.
Right.
One of the main things they want to talk about is artifacts. Oh, what if the artifacts we dig up? But if you go, even Museum of the Fur Trade, they claim to have a bunch of stuff from Wounded Knee. Even the local college has a bunch of beadwork and personal belongings from Wounded Knee. I guess even some of it still has blood on it. So it's just like, at this point, just preserve it because really just, it's houses mainly.
Right.
So there's like a little open field, and that's kind of what I think the camp was. But honestly, I have such a bad time reading descriptions and trying to lay it out a lot when you're actually there. So,
right.
Well, it'd be nice if they preserved it or something, but those guys, a lot of those families been there for a long time. They ain't gonna uproot anytime soon.
Right. Yeah. No, it'll never happen.
Yeah, what you're gonna get is a sign that talks about it in the cemetery, and some people trying to extort you for money. If you go to the stronghold, that's still preserved. That's just way out in the Badlands.
Right.
So.
Oh, let's see. I was trying to see. Yeah, Garrett's still at his mom and dad, so I don't think he's going to make it on.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let him enjoy his party.
I only got 5 people watching, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll run her here for about another 10 minutes unless we get some more questions and get going again. But, yeah, I didn't figure I'd get too many people on here because, like I said, I haven't done one of these for a long time on this channel. And Plus the other events that are going on out there right now that are being
Not to be
attended
spoken of.
by the other members of this chat that he couldn't show up for. But yeah, we'll try her again. Maybe next week Garrett will be ready to do one. Oh, shoot. But yeah, hopefully I'll have some more stuff ready for Fort Larned next spring.
You have no idea how bad I'm just trying to not think of all the stuff I have to make. I need to get my beadwork done. I need to get at least a couple bead strips done for the shirt. I need to get the strips done for the leggings. I need to make some leather leggings. I need to make some power flesh. I need to make some more teepee bags. I need to get a teepee. I need to finish my bow. I need to make a spear. I need to make arrows. I want to cry. That's a lot of stuff.
Steps.
I want to cry.
Small steps. Oh, Travis Lynn's got a question. Can you visit where Sitting Bull was killed?
I absolutely have no idea where his house is. It might be underwater by now.
Could be. Might be under Lake
Rice?
Yeah. One of those. I mean,
You
freaking
can go
Missouri
to where
River.
he's buried now, but from what I've been hearing, that's not where he's actually buried. But
He's in the ground somewhere.
he's in the ground somewhere, but probably not where the monument is. But yeah, I have absolutely no idea where his old home site was. So no, I'm not from Standing Rock. So
Right. Let's see.
Hardy asks, any chance of doing another photo show and talk? Maybe focus on guns and equipment.
Yeah, we could try to do that. Thing it is on this photo thing is Garrett no longer has the upgraded version of StreamYard, and I'm not going to pay $40 a month for it. And we've been talking about, everybody chipping in to try to pay for a year or something. But yeah, I don't know how that works. Things were not upgraded, but we could try to do that in the future. Well, Sitting Bull's house is in Chicago anyway.
Okay.
It was located on the north bank of the Grand River and was moved to Chicago for display in 1893 for the World's Columbian Exposition.
And they've been there ever since.
Oh, it's 15 miles north of Timberlake. I didn't know that.
Oh, really?
That wasn't very far from where I was at when I was up on Cheyenne River.
I've cut through that area a few times.
Yeah. Sitting Bull's new grave is near Mobridge. Sitting Bull College in North Dakota and Standing Rock is located on the site of his home.
So there might be a toilet where he laid down and died.
Damn. Well, then.
You never know.
Well, if you've got problems with the plumbing. Oh, man. Let's
One of these
see.
days I'm going to get punched for the way I talk, and it might be well deserved.
Okay, it's outside Fort Yates.
Okay.
That's a long way from the Grand River.
think besides the Wounded Knee site, the only historic grave I've been to is Yellowstone Kelly's.
You know what's funny is when I was taking you guys around, we should have went and seen William Bent's grave.
Yeah.
The only grave site we went to was the first burial of Kit Carson.
Oh yeah, huh? Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, your niece is over in Fort Laramie. That's about it.
Yeah. I never even went to that one.
Really?
Yeah, I drove by there a lot, looked at it, but I never stopped and went over to him.
Yeah, I just stopped and went one day. Chief Littlewin's grave. I've been up there a few dozen times.
And I've been not knowingly, I've probably walked across the grave of William Sublet's brother Milton. He's buried up there somewhere, maybe even underneath the new hospital at Fort Laramie. Because we talked about that one time, and I told him, I said, because I remember one time there was talk of a project of going through and finding all the graves that are up there on top of the hill and then burying them back deeper because they were so shallow that the gophers were working as pretty good grave robbers. But yeah, there was talk, how cool it'd be finding a Milton Sublet's grave, and it's like, yeah, that'd be the easiest one to find. He's only got one leg. But yeah, that was one thing when I worked up there, is like gophers that get started digging in the spring. You go up there and there'd be toe bones, finger bones, teeth hanging out. Just because them gophers, everybody was buried so shallow back then, them gophers would just bring that stuff right up.
Mm.
And we had to really keep an eye on it, try to keep people out of there. And I guess one of the more famous people for Fort Laramie was Minneakowan's grave.
Oh yeah, I've been up there too.
Yeah. God dang it, can't think of the guy's name. The chief.
Spotted Tail.
Spotted Tail. Yeah, Spotted Tail's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only one bone that there is a little bit of question of if it was actually her bone. Because when they repatriated that was a show. They showed up to bury it and thought Fort Laramie had it, and then come to find out, no, the University of Wyoming had it, and all it was an ankle bone.
Mm.
The rest supposedly was taken up to Rosebud and buried up there. So there's just one bone in there, and it's all encased in concrete. But that's about just almost where her scaffold was at. And then Old Smoke scaffold supposedly was right next to it.
Okay.
And then there was a couple other there. I know there was one guy that came in and said his grandmother, and I'd never heard her name before. His grandmother, well, it would be a really great grandmother, was supposedly buried up there. But I know at one time there was three scaffolds up on that hill.
Oh, I think Duke.
Yeah, I think it's about time to call her here. Garrett's not going to make it on, so we will shut her down here. Yeah, Hardy, we'll try to do one of those shows here in the future. I just don't know when. And yeah, I'm not sure when we'll do the next Tales of the Trails. At some point we'll do one, but I think we'll try to do it on Garrett's channel. Because he gets more views, and if we can get back to doing the higher end Steam streams, we'll do it on both. But so any parting words you got, Sheldon?
Good night. I had a very long day.
Yeah, keep it short and simple.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to call her there. So, thanks, everybody, for joining in. It was kind of impromptu.
Thank you for letting me ramble.
Yeah, and we will try to do this again. Maybe have a little more organized one at some point. So anyway, thank you all again. Stay safe out there. Keep your powder dry. We'll catch you on the next one.